Hey pigs. Hey pigs. Dude is just snoozing. Hey pigs. It's obviously a lazy morning in the pig yard. I came out here to just see how the boar was doing. We put the boar in with the mamas. Hey big boy. He's so huge. So how long do you have them staying in each spot?
About 2 weeks. Like within a week it looks like that.
Yeah, it grows back super fast. How much do you think that guy weighs?
700 pounds, 650, somewhere around there.
So we've had, the boar has been over at Wes's house. We loaned our pigs to our friend Wes. We kept our mamas here, but we have a couple of feeder pigs that are still over there because he's been using them, rotationally moving them through his woods to clear out a bunch of underbrush. And Wes has some area of his property that had been previously clear cut. So he's been using it to reset that. And we just got, that boar doesn't have a name, does he?
We've never named him.
He needs a name, guys. You want to name him? We brought him back and put him in with our 2 old spot mamas, which they're just chilling in the house. It's hot already today, so they're probably trying to conserve their energy. And he came over to woo them that we would have piglets in 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days, roughly, from whenever they get wooed.
Is that what we're calling it now?
So you said you're going to take them around through that back area and back, and then you're eventually going to run them through here?
Yeah, it's gonna go probably another 100 feet this way, and this will be like the permanent pig area. And then we'll just keep moving them around.
And sowing grasses after they're out.
Them.
Yeah. It'll be nice. We did like semi-permanent pens for our pigs for a long time, but Papa T actually lets us use this. This is Papa T's property that we're on. It's right next to ours. There's our house right there, so you can kind of see. And this area right here is probably, what, 15-ish acres next to here that we're working with the pigs.
Yeah.
Oh, you're filthy. But we cut down our pig program pretty significantly because we got the grass-fed beef, which is just a more sustainable meat source because the pigs do require grain. We like pork, so we're going to continue to raise them, but we don't do as many as we used to. Now this dude is a pure Mangalitsa. He was actually born here on this farm. We brought one of our Mangalitsa sows pregnant. We did not bring our previous boar here. We gave him to our friends, the Vincents in Arkansas. And so we brought her pregnant and we kept the best looking boar from that litter. And he's the only Mangalitsa we still have. And breeding him over the old spots, we get a cross where we can get some of the marbling and the Mangalitsa, but faster growing. So it's like kind of the best of both worlds. Eventually we want to do old spot crosses, or not old spot crosses, pure old spots. Those are old spot crosses.
Yeah, or some other kind of cross that's more traditional.
Yeah, like heritage breeds, just for faster growing meat production. The Mangalitsa mixes are great for charcuterie because they're fat content, and the mixes are good for other things as well. But like a pure heritage breed, like a Durek or an old spot, those are going to give you more of like the bacon and pork chops and the traditional meats. There will be more meat content to it rather than the mix with the lard pig, which obviously gives you more fat.
Well, this is working out well, and I think but how much success we're having with just this little bit of land, I think as we continue to develop this, I think we may be able to convert to just pasture raised pork.
Yeah.
If we are able to sow the grass behind them and keep them moving, then we wouldn't have the need of grain at that point.
You really feel like they could be fully supported on?
In a small operation, yeah.
Hey, look at this. I actually saw this recently. We should take this out to the pigs. You'll see this. It's zapped. Probably just the heat, but this is a squash plant. It is a Tromboncino squash. Look at this. I'm actually gonna let it go a little. Oh, never mind. Pulled it off accidentally. Here, let's go take this and give it to the piggies. They grew it in their poop garden. In fact, look at this. Here's another, let's see, little squash. Looks like some sort of pumpkin. And then here's a tomato plant growing out here. I could probably look through here and find quite a few other food plants. It's always fun at the end of the season to go through and see where the pigs used to be and how much food is growing in their old pens. It's very encouraging. This is why we say volunteer plants have been huge cheerleaders to me in gardening, because if my pigs can grow a garden with their poop, surely we can do that with our best efforts. All right, we'll see if they'll come. You want to, I guess it'll bust when you throw it.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if we can, he'll hear it hit the ground.
Unmoved. Hey, there's snacks.
He sees it.
You grew it. Well, your ladies grew that for you. That was in their old pen.
He's like, better not.
All right. Well, he's already had breakfast. He's not interested. That was anticlimactic.
Yeah, we can't predict these things.
Oh no.
Nope.
Still no. Maybe he doesn't like an audience while he eats. The girls like garden scraps. It's now evening. Beautiful golden light. Sweet Maya and I are out going to the barn to milk the cows.
It's hot.
It is very hot. Whenever I've had a wardrobe change in a video, it's definitely not because I'm being a diva. It's because I sweat too much, and by the end of the day, the outfit I started with is no longer suitable. Hey, little cutie. He's super cute. That's Helen's little bull calf. He is now a steer calf, which means he is now castrated. Means he cannot have babies. Any calf that is destined for the freezer gets steered at a young age, because bulls have a lot of hormones, obviously, and you can deal with a lot of aggression, fighting with other bulls, you know, unintentional breeding where they breed your heifers or your cows. And so when we know that that's what we're eventually going to use an animal for, we go ahead and castrate them at a young age. So he's kind of shying away from us right now because that just happened a couple days ago, so he's not feeling the affection. He will forgive us for it though. He will. He'll come to know that we mean treats, and he won't dislike us so much. Here are Tilly and Ramona, our pretty ewe. They're not lambs anymore. I don't think you can call them ewe lambs. They're over a year old, so they're just ewes, I believe. Looking beautiful in the golden light. When we got these girls, they had been raised by their moms. And a lot of times with animals, if they've been hand raised and like bottle fed or raised up by a farmer, they're super friendly in your lap. Whereas when they're raised by their moms, if they don't get handled very much, they can be really wild. And when we got Tilly and Ramona, they were definitely really on the wild side. But we were very persistent in handling them and bringing them treats. And now they're extremely sweet, and they're still flighty. I mean, sheep definitely have a very different personality, but if you're still and quiet, they will come to you and let you pet on them. We don't like go after them. They would definitely run away from that. I feel like this video could be called Animals at Golden Hour. Hey girlies. Oh, the turkeys said hi. They're right behind the cows there. Hi. You enjoying that hay? We haven't had a good rain for a little while. I mean, definitely not as dry as a lot of people are right now, but with the heat coupled with the lack of rain, our grass is really struggling. So cows are going through the hay a little faster right now, and that's fine. They're giving us lots of milk. We need to give them what they need. What's up, Freya girl? Y'all, isn't it crazy how Jersey's markings change seasonally? And they're different like every year. They don't do the exact same thing. Freya is losing all of the black on her face. She had like the most beautiful mask. Same thing with Helen. Like Helen's getting her eyeshadow back. Hey girl. Hey pretty girl. Freya's telling Jeremiah, hurry up. I'm hungry. Hey beautiful. Your lady's calling for you.
I make all the ladies come to the yard.
Freya actually is my favorite cow. She's so sweet.
Yeah.
Hey boys.
Hello.
You could just go home and grab a change of clothes and then...
All right. Come on. The other day I did a video out here in the barn and I showed a shot of Tilly and Ramona, the sheep, in the stall that they have access to here. And somebody asked, why are they still in the barn? Because there was a period when we first got them, when we were trying to socialize them, that we kept them in the stall. It was winter, you know, like, and they were small and we didn't want to let them loose. But this is really clever what Maya did. They built this little thing here in the door of this stall, which essentially the sheep can get through and calves can get through. When we have a small calf in here, they can go through there. And what this serves the purpose of is we can feed the sheep in here. Also, they can get out of the rain. Cows are fine being in the rain. When the weather is extreme or when it's cold and raining, we do open stalls for them to get out. But for the most part, they'll stand in the rain even if they had access to a stall. But sheep don't need to be standing out in the rain. They need some sort of shelter. So this gives them shelter from weather. It allows us to give them, we give them like alfalfa and stuff in here where the cows don't eat it. And when the cows are getting fed, which the mamas that have calves on them, rude, you need to simmer down, girl. The mamas who have calves on them that we're not milking in the evening because they have calves on them, they still get their evening ration of grain. It's really just a supplement for high production jerseys. We do give some grain. There are cows that you do not have to feed grain that can be 100% grass fed, but that is really in the breeding. So if you get a cow that was raised from lines that were given supplemental grain and has been raised on supplemental grain, you cannot just take that away and make that a grass-fed cow. Maybe it will work. In most cases, that cow is going to lose a ton of condition, and so we do supplement that. And since even though we are not milking in the evening, they still get the grain because they're still making the milk. Their babies are just getting it. So that's what's happening down here. The sheep get locked up so they do not steal that grain. And it just keeps everybody out of each other's spaces. It's like when you send your kids all to their rooms and you're like, hey, go to your own space. It doesn't work for us because our kids like all share a room. It's the same general concept. Another question we often get asked when I show quick shots of milking is people say, what in the world are you doing hanging that milker from the cow's teats? Isn't that painful? It's not hanging from her teats. It's actually hanging from this strap that goes across her back, which of course these are very large, strong animals. That is nothing to them on their back. We wouldn't want it to have any pressure hanging from her teats because that would be painful. That milker is called a surge belly milker, and they hang under their belly. That design was really popular for a long time, and I don't believe they're actually made anymore. Where we bought it from, I just searched it up online and found somebody that was selling the belly milker contraption with a new pump. And the benefit of those is you don't have to wash a lot of tubing because the tubes that the milk goes through are only like this short. So you can actually wash it with a brush instead of having to sterilize it with the vacuum. So we like it a lot, but it gets a lot of questions. Hey little heifer, what's up cutie? I'm gonna boop your snoot. Boop. Sometimes I start shooting vlogs and I don't really know what direction it's going in, but I started this morning and, you know, they just brought the boar over, the guys did. So I wanted to go out there and take a look at him. And then I came out to milk with Maya, ended up talking a lot about the animals and the animal food production. So we're growing meat by raising up animals for meat. And then we also have our dairy operation, obviously. In here are the Cornish cross chickens. Now you guys saw a video the day that we brought these home when they were chicks. And you saw a video when I brought the guinea fowl home from the market, which was really just a handful of days ago. Today that I'm filming this, y'all are gonna see it a little behind. It's been almost a week since I brought the guinea fowl home. But look at these dudes now. So much bigger. They're just a couple weeks old and they are getting really large, really feathered out. The guineas are going well in here. We've actually not lost any of these birds, which is really awesome. Once they're fully feathered, they will go outside. The barn is cooler than outside right now, so we're not in any rush to put them out because here in the shade and with these indoors open, there's a really nice cross breeze in here, and it's probably better for them to be in here than outdoors while we're in this heat wave. But they'll be probably ready to go out in at the most like another week and a half or so. Since we're talking a little bit about meat production, we do get asked sometimes about raising hybrid animals. So we have the Cornish cross chicks. There's 100 of those in there. We prefer to raise those up in the fall, just because when those birds do get big, they're more prone to heat stroke. So if you're raising those in the spring into the early summer and really through the heat of the summer, there's a risk of loss because if they die of heat stroke, you know, I mean, obviously that's a loss to your overall numbers. But we also raise a hybrid broad-breasted white turkey. We have several of those out there. And so the big argument against hybrid birds is that they're not sustainable. So if you're going to raise hybrid birds like the Cornish crosses or the broad-breasted white turkeys, you don't save those and collect eggs and hatch them to get more birds or allow them to go broody and set on eggs, because those birds are bred for size, specifically for more breast meat. They don't naturally reproduce. I've heard stories of people keeping them alive and pasturing them and making sure they don't overfeed and trying to save them, but you're still, when their offspring are not going to be the same as them because they're an unstabilized hybrid. Hey guys, what's up? Hey cutie. Why are you so handsome? I have an audience. So for us, the decision to raise hybrid animals, even though they're not the most sustainable option, comes down to them just being the most cost-effective option. So we can take these chicks from the day they get here in the mail. Bosco is gonna tap my... You want in? You want in on this? All right. From the moment we get them in the mail, we can feed them for 10 weeks and then butcher them and get really large birds at that point. We have a big family, and so having like a really meaty bird makes the most sense for us. Whereas for heritage birds, which we've done heritage birds and we've done some of the crosses that are supposed to be more sustainable. For heritage birds, we've butchered at 18 weeks before and gotten like, I'm salty, do I taste nice? We've gotten half the size off of an 18-week bird. So you gotta think, that's twice the amount of food being put in, twice the amount of work being put in with half of the meat on the end. So with the varieties that are more with the varieties that are meant more for sustainability, that are not necessarily like a Rhode Island Red, they're not a heritage breed, but they're like the Rangers and the ginger broilers and all those. We've had pretty good success with those. They do not grow as fast as the Cornish cross. You'll see people have very differing opinions. People are like, oh, this variety tastes so much better and all of that. I've not been able to tell the difference, and I'm pretty much a foodie. For me, what makes the biggest difference in flavor and texture on homegrown chickens is pasturing them, moving them to fresh grass regularly. And we also use a really high quality non-GMO grain that is not majority corn. I think it has corn in it, but it's not the majority corn. So that has helped a lot with flavor and texture. Our meat tastes really, really good. And for us, it just comes down to price. I'm just gonna do the thing that I can get the highest quality product for my family with the least amount of input. And it kind of comes back to, like, we have our jerseys. We feed our jerseys grain. Our jerseys produce milk that is almost a third cream. At least a quarter and up to a third cream. We have even had some jars come in half cream. Meaning we get to make lots of butter and ice cream and sour cream. We get to make lots of yogurt. We're getting this product that's really helping us step away from the grocery store. If sustainability became an issue, let's say, for the sake of conversation, the feed store was not available. We could not get the grain. We wouldn't be raising Cornish cross. We wouldn't be raising hybrid turkeys. We'd not be raising very many pigs. We would not be milking our jerseys. If something happened that we couldn't get to the feed store, those jerseys would go out on pasture. If it was an elongated thing, like, we'd have to dry them off and put them out on pasture if we couldn't get grain, which is what we call putting them on the shelf. Like, if you just put them out and let them cow for a while, where you're not milking them, and you're not feeding them. And they hold their body fine if you're not milking them, just on grass. If it was long term, if it was like, oh, there's not going to be a grain again for years, the jerseys would just become meat. That's just the reality of what it would be. That is why everything we're doing, we have our now approach. We have full access to non-GMO grain. We have full access to new chicks every year. Let's just do the thing that is the cheapest and the best for now. But we also kind of have our plan B approach, which is the fact that we do have heritage layers that go broody. If we absolutely needed to, we could have a free-range flock that, you know, fended for themselves. They probably wouldn't lay a whole lot, but we could occasionally butcher some extra roosters and have some meat from that. We have the grass-fed beef. We have the sheep. That's something that we're doing because you can raise sheep on grass only. Like I said earlier in the video, we cut our pig numbers down. So for us, we want to know the sustainable approach. We want to have the sustainable options. But we also want to do, in the meantime, what makes the most sense for us right now with the resources that we currently have. And that's kind of always been our approach to preparing and homesteading. I don't want to just survive, I want to thrive. I want to eat great food now. I want to have lots of options now. And when COVID happened and grocery stores were bare, I knew that if there was an extended thing, we'd be fine. We could make a little bit of shift and go into a survival type way of homesteading. But to me, it doesn't make any sense to live so limited in survival mode now when I don't have to. So that's kind of the long-winded spiel. I ended up showing all the animals so much in here, I figured I would talk about that. And Bosco just had to come in and get his little moment. He's a handsome boy and he needs you to know it. I love this horse so much. He's such a good boy. He's a little feisty. He's fast. You won't see me riding him a lot. Wes is the one that mainly rides him. Jeremiah was riding Haley the other day. But I don't know. I like to go fast on a horse now and again. Maybe we'll get there. You better quit licking me. He's tasting the salt on my skin from being sweaty. You're a good boy. You just don't know what to think of this camera, do you? Hey. There you go. It's okay. He's turning his ears back a little bit, which is usually a caution thing. It's okay. It's okay. For a while, I would have told you that the priority for the new homesteader should be garden first and meat second. And I still do think that it's true that gardens are a really good place to learn if you have little to no experience with taking care of things. Because if you are learning how to get over lazy habits and lack of discipline, just speaking really frankly, that's something we got to get over when we've lived very sedentary lives and we decide to go back to the land. A garden's a good place to start because if you kill it, it's a plant and not an animal. With animals, there's a lot less wiggle room for like throwing your hands up. You know, if you have an animal in milk, you have to milk it. However, there are a number of reasons why I do think meat production can still be a really valid place for new people to start, and I wish it wasn't as overwhelming as a lot of people felt like it was. The main thing is if you want to raise meat, getting your infrastructure right on the front end will save you a lot of heartache. Like, we have our pigs in electric netting. We had to train them to that, and it's working great. It's going really well. The electric netting and the solar energizers are definitely an investment, but that's going to be an investment that provides the capacity to raise a lot of meat. With solar fencing for raising meat chickens, I mean, it really helps really big, and that's been something that making that investment to get into that has made the job easier. Raising cattle on grass, we have a lot of food that's literally growing from the sunshine and the rain. Like, our beef cattle, we do have to manage the herd, and obviously we would have to intervene if there was any sort of health issue, but very largely hands-off. But of course it costs the initial investment of the animals, the land, and the fencing. So with raising meat, you're mostly always looking at a certain amount of investment, but I don't think that it's as out of touch as a lot of people feel, because I know a lot of people that raise 20 meat chickens in a suburban backyard. It only takes 8 weeks. So you can move them around your backyard for 8 weeks and grow out meat there in your suburban yard. With the sheep, I mean, they are going to be pastured sheep. Well, they're not. They're going to be mamas, but we will use them to build a flock and raise pastured lambs. Again, anything that we can grow without having to fork money over to grain is amazing, because it is sustainable and it's also a lot more affordable. Like, to me, the initial investment of the cattle is a lot, but then when I think about how much meat we're gonna get without having to constantly bring input from the feed store every month, that's amazing. Now for me, I can't say one way or another whether you should start a garden first or meat first. I think it's also in relationship with each other, that just starting is good. Start what you're gonna eat. Do what you're gonna be passionate about. And I mean, it is really cool to have
good meat
and feel good about it, especially with some of the stuff that you read on the news. That, I mean, like a lot of the lab created meats and the different things that they're talking about putting into meat now, considering how so much of the meat at the store is fed genetically engineered food and different things like that, and the way they're kept is just not great. You know, I'll probably get some hate comments on this anytime you talk about raising meat. You do, but every animal that you saw in this video is respected and cared for and honored. Honestly, it's allowed to live in such a way that it was designed to live. It's allowed to scratch through grass and eat grass, and you know, it's never growing up waist deep in its own crap. You know, like, it's better, yeah, for them and for us. So anyway, interesting direction that took. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and all the days you do. I bless you. Until next time.